Hola Bruno, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, pues muy contento de estar aquí en el Crush Fest
¿Es
y
la
hablando
primera vez?
contigo.
¿Es la primera vez que venís?
Sí, es la primera vez.
¿Estás emocionado de conocer a tus lectores?
Sí, la verdad es que sí, es lo mejor de estos eventos.
Tus libros están llegando a muchos lectores y también a otros países. ¿Cómo está siendo esa recepción? ¿Estás teniendo sus comentarios? ¿Estás charlando con ellos?
Sí, gracias a redes sociales al final, ahora hoy en día se puede tener un contacto bastante cercano, que es genial. Y de momento ha sido muy positivo. Es genial poder ver, para mí es una cosa muy especial de escribir, que durante un tiempo ese mundo y esos personajes solo existen para mí y llega un momento en el que son reales para otras personas e incluso me hablan de ellos como que les conocen mejor que yo, han vivido aventuras con ellos que yo no he formado parte. Es una cosa mágica realmente.
Bueno, hablemos de tu último lanzamiento. Acaba de llegar a Argentina, así que bueno, creo que sabes que soy de Argentina, te darás cuenta por el acento. El libro tiene mucho de misterio, tensión y tiene también, ¿no?, una criatura aterradora, espías. ¿Cómo surgió la idea de esa historia?
Pues yo sabía que quería escribir una fantasía urbana que estuviera localizada en París o en una ciudad que es un trasunto de París. Me gustaba la idea porque había leyendo sobre, bueno, yo leo muchos libros sobre historia de no ficción y había leído sobre un hotel que durante la Primera Guerra Mundial había sido un nido de espías. Y esa idea me resultó tan sugerente. Pensé, uy, sí, personajes que están encerrados en un hotel, que tienen que estar allí, que todos además son espías, tienen identidades falsas, no saben quién es un enemigo, quién es un amigo, y pensé, de aquí se puede sacar una buena historia. Se me ocurrió la criatura del carroñero, que es esta criatura tan horrible, para que hubiera una razón por la cual están en ese hotel. Van a hacer una reunión secreta en la que se va a hablar de cómo librarse de esa criatura, porque durante la guerra que está teniendo lugar en este momento, los dos bandos creen que la criatura es un arma del otro bando, porque está haciendo daño a todos por igual. Entonces tiene lugar esta reunión secreta y se reúnen estos 5 personajes que son espías, todos queriendo saber qué es lo que pasa en esa reunión. Y los 5 van a tener que averiguar quiénes son los demás y de vez en cuando equivocarse y decirles cosas o confiar en personas que en realidad son sus enemigos o, bueno, o al revés.
Excelente. ¿Cómo fue el proceso de escritura de esta historia, no? Te surgió la idea, pero tenés 5 personajes con fantasía, con misterio. ¿Cómo fue escribir esta historia?
Pues la verdad es que la parte de preparación fue muy complicada porque tenía muchas cosas pasando a la vez, hay una dosificación de la información que era muy importante, que siguiera el ritmo justo para que mantener la intriga, pero a la vez hacer al lector cómplice de muchas cosas, incluso que haya veces que si un personaje está fingiendo ser otro y engaña a uno para que le cuente algo, yo quería que a veces el personaje al que le está engañando no sepa que esto es una trampa, pero el lector sí lo sabe y lo está leyendo casi como diciendo no, no le digas nada. Entonces hacer cómplice al lector era importante para mí y quería que todo lo que pasa estuviera muy claro, que no hubiera nadie leyendo el libro y diciendo no me estoy enterando de lo que está pasando. Quería que estuviera clarísimo y para eso lo tenía que tener clarísimo yo.
Claro.
Así que eso fue mucho trabajo, pero luego fue muy divertido también porque los 5 personajes son muy importantes, la novela la sostienen ellos. Y tienen una personalidad muy peculiar cada uno de ellos, entonces son muy divertidos. Y me reía escribiéndolo, me reía corrigiéndolo y espero que también sea muy divertido leerlo.
¿Cómo hiciste para equilibrar todos los elementos de esta historia? Porque como esto que decís, ¿no? Misterio, ¿cómo fue lograr que todo fluyera y que no haya más peso de un tipo de trama, digamos, más que el otro?
Pues la verdad es que tenía muy clara cuál era la trama de lo que es la intriga, de la historia de espías, digamos. Y después, como los personajes tienen esa gran importancia, sus tramas y sus relaciones entre sí, tanto de enemistad como el romance, todo tipo de relaciones que se crean entre ellos y dinámicas, dejaba como que eso guiase todo lo demás. La fantasía y la parte histórica y ambiental de lo que es París era como la base y todo lo demás se construía encima.
Sos un autor que está creciendo mucho últimamente, ya lo dijimos. ¿Cómo describís tu evolución desde tus primeras historias a hoy?
Pues fíjate, yo creo que ha sido una cosa que a mí me resulta un poco curiosa porque me parece que empecé escribiendo para mí cuando yo era un niño y claro, escribía pues historietas que yo me inventaba y que no leía nadie o leía a mis padres a lo mejor o algún amigo, pero realmente escribía lo que yo quería para mí. Y una vez que empecé a publicar, creo que hubo un momento en el que yo mismo sentía, no, ¿es esto lo que quiere leer la gente? ¿Es esto lo que está pidiendo? Y intentaba ir por ahí. Y después me di yo mismo cuenta que al final las historias que me parece que más gustan a los lectores son esas en las que yo estoy poniéndolo todo. Yo estoy escribiendo la historia y estoy convencido y enamorado de los personajes y a tope con ellos y eso es lo que se transmite al final. la propia ilusión que uno tiene y lo que tú crees en la historia, lo entusiasmado que estás con ella. Al final, cuando la escribes, le dedicas muchísimas horas, ¿no?
Claro.
Entonces te tiene que gustar.
Sí, porque si no te gusta
Claro.
a vos, es muy probable que no le guste al resto.
Totalmente, para leer también le dedicas mucho tiempo, tiene que gustarte, tiene que importarte qué es lo que le pasa a sus personajes, ¿no? Si no dices, ¿para qué la voy a leer? Y entonces creo que he vuelto a reconectar con eso, ¿no? Con decir, la mejor forma de llegar a otra gente es que sean historias en las que yo mismo creo 100% y que me entretienen y que me atrapan y de esa forma van a atrapar también a otra gente.
La última que te quiero preguntar, ya te dije que soy argentina y se acaba de anunciar hace muy poquito que nos vas a estar visitando. ¿Qué expectativas tenés? Si conoces Argentina, no conoces, ¿qué querés de tu viaje?
Pues no he estado nunca en Argentina.
¡Vamos!
Tengo muchísimas ganas de ir. De hecho, lo que me pasa es que no me creo todavía del todo que vaya a ir. O sea, me lo dices, se anunció el otro día y yo creo que hasta que no me monte en el avión no lo voy a procesar de lo grande que me parece y lo alucinante. Tengo, vamos, infinitas ganas de ir, de conocerlo, de conocer allí a los lectores, a otros compañeros escritores también. Creo que va a ser alucinante y tengo tantas ganas de estar en la Feria del Libro.
Qué bueno, te esperamos con muchas ganas, así que nos vemos en Argentina.
Genial,
Gracias.
muchas gracias.
Thank you for this time. I'm from Argentina, I'm not from Spain. I came here for the festival, so I'm happy.
Yeah, that's a long way though.
That's a long way.
How
yes.
long is the flight?
12 hours and a half.
Real long way.
Long.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I wanted to ask you is, if it's your first time here in Barcelona, I think that yes.
Yes.
What I saw in your Instagram stories, you're like in love with the city.
I'm in love with it. So I spent a lot of time in Spain, but mostly the south.
Okay.
And everyone who's been to Barcelona said to me, like, you will love it because I love architecture.
Uh-huh.
I love food.
I said the same answer.
Exactly, right?
The music, the language, because Catalan is pretty nice.
But also just the energy. Like, I feel like everyone's kind of happy and relaxed. So yeah, this morning, I got in late last night, and then this morning I was like, okay, I'm going to go for a little run because I'm a runner. And it's a really fast way to see a lot of the city. And by the time I got back to my hotel, I'm like, I'm moving here.
Yes.
I texted my husband, and I was like, pack up the house.
We have to move to Barcelona.
Exactly, I love it.
I always say that it's the city where I love to live because it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So
It's your first time also in the Crush Fest.
Yeah.
What do you expect from this event?
I'm so excited. It's also my first time having a book translated in Spanish. So it's my first time ever meeting Spanish readers. I've heard that they're very passionate.
Yes.
And they love the book community. So I'm just so excited to feel some of that energy.
That's amazing. So we're going to talk about your new book.
Okay.
It's really, really new in
Yes.
Argentina. We don't have it yet.
Okay.
But we'll soon have it, so I'm happy for
Yay.
that. So it's an amazing story, as I see on the synopsis. So Evelyn remembers all her past lives, and in every one of them, she has been killed by Arden. So what inspired you to write such an intense and fated love story?
So I came up with the first seed of the idea in 2017, so 8 years ago.
Wow.
And I thought, what if a girl who could remember her past life remembered that she'd been murdered and that she wanted revenge? But I couldn't find the right way into the story. There were lots of different ways I could tell that story. And the obvious way seemed to be like a murder mystery. Who did it and why? Solving your own murder. But every time I sat down to write it, it just felt that there was something more exciting I could do with it. And so I kept putting it away and coming back to it and putting it away and coming back to it. And then in 2020, Taylor Swift released the song Exile. And I became really obsessed. I listened to it about 50 times the day it came out. And I thought, I want to write a book that feels like this song. So I wanted it to be haunting, but hopeful and kind of devastating and just feel like a knife in the chest, basically. And it was that line, I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. And I was like, what if she had seen this film a lot of times before and she'd lived a lot of past lives? And it always ended the same way and it was always the same person who killed her in every life. And then I was like, okay, if I want it to feel like this song, she has to be in love with the person who's killing her, right? And then it finally came together.
I love that. Of course, you're a Swiftie.
Of course I'm a Swiftie. I feel like so many bookish people are Swifties. It works.
I have a lot of interviews, and Taylor Swift is always mentioned in all of the interviews because we're all Swifties, I think.
My agent emailed my publisher last week being like, can we not just send Taylor a copy of the book? And I'm like,
let's try.
Try.
That would be amazing.
I know.
So the novel also blends romance, fantasy, and suspense.
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge in balancing these elements?
It's a really tough one because I think the industry as a whole likes a book to fit neatly in one box. And actually I've struggled to sell books in the past because they're like, well, is it fantasy? Is it thriller? Is it literary? But as a reader, I love the books that kind of slip between the cracks and that combine different genres. So I really wanted to try and do that, and I wanted to take a really big risk. And I thought maybe it would sell better if I made it fit so it was completely fantasy, or it was completely dark romance, or it was completely one of these. And then I heard this quote that was like, how would you write this book if you knew it wouldn't fail? And I was like, well, this is what I would do. I would have it span 1,000 years. I love books that feel really epic in scope. And I wanted to show all these past lives that she'd been executed in, essentially. And I was like, is that too slow? Is it this? And then I was like, no, how would you write it if you knew it wouldn't fail? And so I just did that, and I wrote how it felt right to me, and I knew it wouldn't be for everyone. I knew some people would want more fantasy, and I knew some people would want more romance, but it felt right to me.
And to put everything in that.
Everything that I love. And I think, like you say, with the Swiftie thing, I think a lot of book people have similar passions and interests and like secret little things that they love to read about. And I'm like, if I love all these elements, surely other people will too, and they won't care that it's not definitely epic fantasy and it's not definitely a thriller, you know?
Totally, yes. So Evelyn and Arthur's relationship is filled with tension, mystery, and centuries of history.
Yes.
What was the most exciting part about writing their dynamic?
It was a really difficult one because they reincarnate differently in every single life. So in some, they are a boy and a girl, and in some they're both girls, and in some they're both boys, and in some they're in cultures that are not tolerant of that, and in some they're in bodies that are a challenge to be inside, and their cultures are changing, and the historical periods they're in are changing. How would you stay the same throughout all of that? You wouldn't, right? You would change so much, and so I had to really dig deep into what makes a soul, and what parts of them would stay the same throughout each life. It was very difficult because I thought, this was the 15th book I'd written, and I thought I knew how to write a character until I was like, okay, this character has to change 1,000 times, but still fall in love with the same person. And so it was really challenging because it was like, well, I really wanted to make Arden really into like literature and books and stuff, but it was like, well, in some lives, he wouldn't have access to books. He wouldn't have been taught how to read in that language. And so it was like, okay, so who is he even further down than that? So it was a really big challenge, but it was when it finally clicked, and I was like, that's why they keep falling in love. It was so rewarding.
You said writing about past lives and deep connection between characters must be complex. How did you structure the story to keep like this, everything aligned?
So the way the story is told as a reader, you have the present day narrative in which Evelyn is trying to stay alive past her 18th birthday because her baby sister needs bone marrow transplants to keep her alive. But Evelyn's turning 18 in like a week, and she knows she's about to be killed. So she has to try and solve it this time. She has to figure out who Arden is. She has to beat them to it. She has to stay alive. So we have that thread going through the modern day, but we also gradually go back and back and back and back and back in time over 1,000 years, and we figure out at the same time as Evelyn, because she can't remember why this is happening, we figure out with her why it's happening and how she can stop it. So the way I approached the structure is I wrote all of the past lives first, so not the present day narrative, because I was like, I don't think I can do the present day narrative justice if I haven't lived all these lives with them. I wanted you to be able to feel the history underneath the surface of their conversations, and I wanted you to feel the love of it. And if I just wrote the present day and then went back and tried to figure out some past lives, I don't think you would have got that. What that meant was I had to spend a lot of time researching, because there are about, I think, 15 different time periods, different cultures, and I really wanted to get all of them right. So it was really difficult, but I wrote all of them in the space of about 6 months, and then I wrote all the present day narrative and then chopped it together.
A tough challenge.
Yes, very challenging.
How much time did you get like writing that book?
It's a funny one because obviously the idea was 5 years old by the time I started to write it. I started to write it in 2022. So 5 years, half a decade after I first had the idea. But it actually then came to me quite quickly after I'd done the past lives. So the past lives were very time consuming. I would say they took about 6 months in total, and they're only like 1,000 words each. They're not long. But once I had them, the rest came together in about 3 months, and it was easier to. And then obviously you spend a year,
of course,
editing
and all that stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
This is more like a personal question, but I think you're going to answer me yes. But do you believe in past lives?
Yes, I do believe in past lives. However, I keep being asked if I believe in soulmates, and I don't.
No?
I don't believe in soulmates, and I didn't realize that I didn't believe in soulmates until I started talking about this book. And I think everyone expects that the answer will be yes,
Yes.
because I've written about 2 soulmates. But I do think that there's not just one person for everyone, and if you somehow miss them or you lose them, then that's it. You can never find anyone else to be happy with. And I think there's a lot of beauty in choosing someone, in like choosing to make a beautiful life for someone and choosing to be happy with someone. And I think what's beautiful about Evan and Arden is that yes, they are soulmates, but they also choose each other again and again. Even though their circumstances are different, they still actively choose, even though it doesn't make any sense because they have to kill each other. And so I think that's my real opinion on love. I know this is not the question that you asked, but
It's okay.
I think it's quite an interesting one. However,
Yes.
past lives, I really believe that I was alive in Tudor London, which I don't know why, but I keep getting this wave of like missing it. I'm nostalgic for it. Why? Who would want to live in Tudor London? There was
Past
a lot
life.
of drama, bad smells, fires, plagues. Like, why would you want to, unless I was there? So I think I do believe in past lives.
Okay, if you're writing something new, if you can tell us something
Yes.
about it.
So I also have another book out in a few months' time called Silver Cloak, and this is an adult epic fantasy. So this one is definitely fantasy with a romance element because it's me.
Of course.
And it's set in a world where magic is fueled by pleasure and pain.
Wow.
And it's about this jaded detective who goes undercover into a magical mafia and wants to destroy it from the inside, except she is prophesied to kiss and then kill the kingpin's son. And it's wands and cloaks and dragons and everything I've ever wanted to write about, and it's the first in a trilogy.
Oh, I totally want to read it. So thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you so much. It's been so nice talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time for this interview. I'm so excited to meet you. So I wanted to ask if it's the first time you're here in Barcelona.
No, it's my second time.
Oh,
and I
that's
was
great.
so excited to come back because it's one of my favorite cities in the whole world.
So you already know your fans. You had the chance, or
Yeah, I did a signing last time I was here. It was very
amazing.
good. Yes.
But you already came to the Crush Fest, or it's
No,
the
it's my first time at Crush Fest.
Okay.
Yes.
So are you excited?
Yes.
What do you expect from this event?
It's already so beautiful, and there are so many like cool stands, and like I just love getting to connect with readers because I'm a reader and I'm a fan, and so getting to meet people, especially in a language that I wouldn't normally get to, is just, it honestly feels like magic, and Crush Fest feels like magic, and everything looks so magical and beautiful that I'm like, this is amazing.
Did you have the chance to learn some Spanish?
Hablo español, pero he olvidado todo mi vocabulario y también no puedo conjugar sus verbos.
But you speak really well.
Gracias. Me encanta español, es más bonita que inglés. Inglés es y español es como música, pero no puedo hablar de mis libros porque no tengo el
Vocabulario.
Sí.
But you speak really amazing.
Oh,
so
thank you.
amazing. So well, we're going to talk about your new book.
Okay.
What inspired you to reimagine Lucy's story in this unique way, giving her such a central role?
So I love the novel Dracula, but it also makes me really mad because it treats Lucy so poorly, and she's set up, and she's funny. She's the most charming person. Everybody loves her, and she's beautiful, and everybody wants her. And because of that, she dies. She's punished for it, and that always really bothered me. And also, when I read it, Lucy has 3 suitors. She has 3 men who propose to her and love her, but she only talks about Mina. Like, she loves Mina. She talks about when they used to kiss and tell secrets, and I'm like, oh, she's not straight. And so when I wanted to do a retelling or a spin-off of Dracula, I knew I wanted to give Lucy a new story because I hated her ending, I hated the way that she was treated, and I thought she's such a vibrant character. She deserves to have a story where she gets to claim herself and have her own narrative.
Lucy has been through a lot in this story. She's an immortal being with a tragic past. What was your approach to developing her character and her internal struggles?
Yeah, so I wanted to keep that sense of love because I felt like at the core of Lucy, she loves big, she loves other people, she's got a really big heart. And so I thought, how would moving through, being so traumatically killed and brought back, and then moving through the decades as a vampire, how would that change you? How would that give you the time to figure yourself out? What would her relationship be to herself and to other people and to other vampires? And so just really kind of sinking into that. The first thing that I did, though, when I was writing this book is I wrote her journal entries when she was a teenager, before she was a vampire, because I really wanted to know who she was first so that I could explore who she was after.
That's amazing, like all the work you had to do to write the story.
Yeah.
The novel blends gothic romance with fantasy and thriller elements. How did you balance the dark atmosphere with the emotional and romantic aspects of her story?
That's a great question. I knew I wanted it to be very romantic at its heart, which is why Iris, her love interest, has a full point of view, because I wanted the reader to be able to fall in love with Lucy alongside Iris. That was really important to me. So I wanted that romance to be the heart of the novel, but it's a vampire novel, so it's gory, it's scary. And then I included the chapters from Dracula's point of view because I wanted to include that element of predatory vampirism and that very like classical, traditional, like stalking people, because I didn't want Lucy to do that. So it was part of why I have multiple points of view, is so that I could balance all those different aspects of the story.
What challenges did you face when bringing such a well-known character like Lucy into a new light, especially with a modern twist?
Well, some people get mad. Some people have been very mad with what I do with certain characters from Dracula, which is fine. You're allowed to be. Because I have a very strong theory about what the other characters in the novel Dracula were doing. I give you that theory in this book. It's okay if you don't agree with it.
It's okay.
It's okay. People are also very attached to the character of Mina, but it's not from the novel Dracula, it's from the movies. And so whenever they're like, that's not what Mina was like, I'm like, have you read the book? Because it is. The biggest challenge, though, was the structure of the book. The plot and the characters were always the same, but I redid the structure of this book like 5 times, trying to just get it right, and keep the heart of the novel focused on Lucy.
If you had to describe Lucy in just 3 words, what words would you use?
Loving, sexy, and moonlight, which you'll find out when you read the book.
Okay. Are there any themes or messages in the book that you hope resonate with readers?
Yes. So one thing that was really important to me in writing Lucy was consent, because so much of vampire stories and vampire romances, consent is taken out of it because it's predatory. And so because Lucy had been denied consent for her whole life, she was attacked by a vampire. The men who were protecting her performed medical procedures on her without her permission or even her knowledge. It was really, really important to me that Lucy's love story was rooted in affection and consent, because I feel like so often as women, so much of our stories are kind of forced on us by other people. And so with Lucy's story of reclaiming herself and reclaiming her power and figuring out that she's worthy of love, that core of I give you permission to love me and I give myself permission to love myself too was really, really important to me.
Amazing. So the last thing I want to ask you, if you can send a message to your Argentinian readers. The book is just about to come, I think, to Argentina, because I'm from Argentina.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't tell you that.
Oh, I love Argentina too.
I'm not from Spain, I'm from Argentina. So if you want to send a message to your readers, you can do it there on the camera.
Okay. Hola Argentina, te amo. I hope you enjoy Lucy Inmortal, and I hope I get to see you again one of these years. I really miss Argentina, but we can hang out in my book.
Thank you. Yo le quiero decir que preparé una frase en italiano para intentar saludarla. Ciao Carrie, sono Ivana, vengo dell'Argentina. Scusa il mio italiano. Ci provo, è un piacere incontrarti. Grazie per il tuo tempo per questa intervista.
Grazie a te, sei stata bravissima. Meglio di me.
Grazie. La primera pregunta es, estás en España, en el Crush Fest. No sé si es la primera vez que venís a este país, pero me gustaría saber qué expectativas tenés con este festival. y si te emociona ovviamente conocer a tus fans de acá de España.
Sì, moltissimo. Allora, non so cosa aspettarmi, proprio perché non ho mai avuto la possibilità di confrontarmi dal vivo con i lettori spagnoli. Ho avuto alcune interazioni su Instagram, sui social, dove mi hanno scritto, mi hanno insomma raccontato il loro approccio alla saga, i complimenti, come gli ha fatto stare, quindi qualche feedback piccolino l'ho già ricevuto, ma non so dal vivo veramente cosa aspettarmi, sono molto molto emozionata per questo.
Tenemos a dos protagonistas que son personajes con personalidades muy distintas. ¿Cómo desarrollaste la química entre ellos y cómo fue escribir su romance?
Allora, in realtà è stato tutto molto naturale. Il mio compito è stato solo quello di trascrivere su carta, sul computer, insomma, quello che poi in realtà i personaggi stessi mi raccontavano, no? Quindi io non ho fatto altro che far uscire le loro voci, le loro storie, e la chimica tra i due personaggi, pur essendo molto diversi fra loro, è qualcosa di innato tra loro, cioè c'era già. Non ho dovuto fare molto in realtà per farla uscire, perché ogni volta che poi Thomas e Vanessa finivano per essere vicini, facevano poi tutto loro.
Como autora italiana, ¿qué elementos de tu cultura y de tu entorno tomaste para reflejar un poco de eso en esta historia?
Ho fatto tanto delle mie esperienze di vita, no? Quindi l'incontro con determinate persone, situazioni che ho vissuto in prima persona e che ho visto di riflesso in altri. Mi sono basata molto sulla mia esperienza, su tutto ciò che in questi lunghissimi anni ho potuto vivere, vedere. Sono anche andata molto di fantasia, quindi sai, tutto. Sono una sognatrice, quindi quelle classiche storie d'amore un po' tormentate che magari che poi finiscono comunque bene e con cui cresciamo guardando i film, serie TV, mi hanno sempre molto appassionata, quindi un po' sono andata anche di fantasia, però sicuramente ci sono stati dei valori cardini che fanno parte della mia vita e che ho voluto trasmettere, come comunque la lealtà nelle amicizie, come possiamo vedere tra Tiffany, Vanessa e Alex, l'unione proprio familiare che ci sono tra Thomas e Leila a livello di famiglia, fratelli, comunque sono due fratelli che hanno vissuto cose veramente molto forti e che nonostante tutto sono sempre uniti, e quindi direi che l'amicizia, l'amore, anche nelle sue mille sfaccettature, no? Dal bene al male, sono quei valori che mi appartengono e che poi ho messo poi nel libro.
En esta trilogía el romance es la temática central, pero también hay mucho autodescubrimiento y superación. ¿Cómo equilibras esos aspectos en la trama para que todo fluya de una manera natural?
E allora, io partendo dall'inizio, dalla scelta del titolo della trilogia, che è Better, e quindi comunque era chiuso nel miglioramento, no? In un'evoluzione comunque, il pensiero è stato appunto quello di voler creare una storia e dei personaggi che evolvessero con l'andare avanti della trilogia, no? E per evolvere, per migliorarsi, secondo me è necessario sbagliare, ok? Quindi tutti gli errori o comunque anche la crescita personale che c'è stata sia di Thomas che di Vanessa era voluta. Io volevo creare dei personaggi che potessero risultare realistici e su cui i lettori potessero rivedersi e dire ok, non sono perfetti, ma nessuno lo è, hanno imparato dai loro errori e sono arrivati dall'essere quello che erano nel primo volume ad essere poi quello che sono riusciti a costruire nel terzo.
¿Estás trabajando en algo nuevo en este momento? ¿Se vienen nuevos libros?
Allora, io sto lavorando a uno spin-off di Better sulla sorella di Thomas, Leila, e il miglior amico di Thomas che viene presentato dal secondo volume in poi, che è Vince, e sto scrivendo attualmente questo libro qua, sì.
Como para cerrar, te quiero preguntar si conoces Argentina o te gustaría visitar Argentina y conocer, porque si bien tus libros no llegaron, en digital podemos acceder y estoy segura que tenés fans en Argentina que te quieren conocer.
Assolutamente, non sapevo, devo dire la verità, perché per me è molto difficile capire il feedback dei lettori fuori dal mio paese, no? E quindi per me è stata una sorpresa ora che mi hai detto che ci sono dei lettori anche in Argentina. Io sono assolutamente, sarebbe bellissimo poterli incontrare.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias.
Grazie a te.